what we were wanting to do is provide an update overview of where we are comms-wise, introduce a few faces. I think there's been a lot of change over the last few years. Of course, COVID has impacted our ability to get to know people within the community. So we thought it was just a great time to make some of those introductions. We also wanted to, again, go through our comms channels and take some opportunity today, so it's going to be a lot of pressure on the two of you to offer some feedback about the different channels. Because one thing that we're really looking at doing is a complete audit of our comms program. And ultimately what we know we have to do is communicate effectively and efficiently to the community what they need to hear, when they need to hear it, what they want to hear, when they need to hear it, and those types of things. So we're using this as a starting point for that audit itself, and hopefully provide some clarity. So we'll talk a little bit about the team. So you get to meet the three of us. There are four total. One of our team members is actually an overseas consultant. She was an employee here, so she won't be able to introduce herself today. We'll go through a little bit about what our tools are. We'll talk about the family email. We'll go through Connect ASD, which are internal pages. We will hit on briefly the mobile app, which is something we slowly introduced last year. Hit the pause button. We're going to try and introduce it again. Talk about social media, and then points of contact, going forward for the entire community. So the team, my daughter actually does this. It was quite awesome that they had that in the, what are these called? Memojis. Memojis. So Craig Tredenik, Director of Admissions and Advancement, and we have Cheryl, who's our communication specialist. We have Nida, who's our engagement specialist. And then Ariel, who is, again, overseas, and she is our marketing and brand specialist. Ariel was a parent here and a part of the team, of course, and then she moved to Japan, but was such a strong contributor and has such a strong impact on our work that we did our very best to hold on to her where we could. So the four of us would be the ones, anything comms related that the community would contact. Hopefully we've got the answer for you, and hopefully we'll have more opportunities like this to make introductions and to make connections. Because again, ultimately what we're here to do is serve the community as best we can in terms of our messaging and our communications. So it's a rather simple premise. I mean, our focus is making sure that all of our constituents, parents, faculty, staff, student, board of trustees, prospective parents, which is probably the largest population, our alumni, which is a growing population. We've got over, I think, 2,000 that we consider alumni. We've started to re-engage with them. So just 2 weeks ago, we had an alumni event in London. Last night, this morning, here, we had an event in Boston. We had about 40 young alums there. Tomorrow morning, we've got an event in New York City, and we're expecting over 50. And then we've got our fourth and final event overseas in DC next weekend. And then we'll do 2 alumni events in Dubai in February and March. And the goal is to build on that. So when we reached out to our alums and let them know that we were coming, there was a number of West Coast alums that asked if we'd make our way out there. So we'll have to find a way to struggle to get out to San Diego or Los Angeles or San Francisco next year. Clarity, coherence, and consistency. So this is often the things that my team reminds me of in terms of what we are supposed to offer when it comes to our communications plan. A big part of it, ASD's got such a rich history. We are so very fortunate to be close partners with the UAE. And approaching 60 years that we've been founded as a school, but we've gone through some changes in that time. So part of what we view as our responsibility is ensuring that we're presenting a message that projects where we're headed, but through the lens of where we've been. We're very fortunate to have, even just thinking about the alumni number, nearly 2,000 people that have walked the halls here who carry on that mission and carry on that message. Our job is to support them. And then in terms of the communications office and plans at ASD, I mean, we've gone through a lot of change in the last few years in general. I think society in general has gone through changes in terms of expectations with our lack of ability to connect. So we're constantly taking a look at how we connect with our community, the ways we deliver our message, the ways that we shape our narrative, and through somewhat of a limited resource package. Our team has shifted a little bit in the last few years. and the number of ways that people expect to be communicated with has increased. So that relationship does put a little bit of a strain on what we're doing, but it's the constant feedback circle, right? What are the ways that our community is looking to hear from us, and how can we do a better job of that? So again, part of what we're wanting to do today is kick off a so-called audit towards that end goal. So we've got two main branches of our communication tools. So we've got our print media. This is less and less. So those of you, ASD has made a commitment to sustainability. So the number of things that we're actually printing has reduced quite considerably over the last few years. There's things that you'll still see, so banners, posters, but even in those areas, we're trying to reduce the number of things that we print. Handbooks we've pushed online. Some of our guides we've made available online, either on the front forward-facing page, which is just our website, or Connect ASD, which is our internal site. And then we still have a number of advertisements. So our office does coordinate anything that you would see in the newspapers or online news. Any of those things are things that our office will coordinate. And then our digital media. So email, as we know, is something that you get a lot of from us. It is probably the number one tool for us, or has been historically. We do have our two websites, which we'll speak to. The forward-facing one pretty much has everything that the external community would need to know, and we do hide pretty much all of the stuff that parents need to know in one, I think, really robust repository on the internal side. Social media has been something I think that we've had considerable growth in terms of our engagement over the last few years. 5-6 years ago, we were largely Instagram. We've added to that, I think, a stronger presence in Facebook, and we're not in TikTok yet, but LinkedIn is another area that we've seen some opportunities there. We have a partnership with House of Comms, which is a PR branding media firm in town. And we're in our 4th or 5th year partnership with them? 4, I think. 5th, okay. And they help us with some of our coordinated marketing plans. So they'll help us with the creative side, and then when we go to target specifically prospective students or alumni, they help us make sure that we're getting presence, based on where people are. And then the mobile app is the latest edition. Again, we soft launched that last year. Kind of hit the pause button and wanted to do a reset, which we're ready to do here in the coming days and weeks. So the digital side, ASD News, which is our weekly newsletter that we send out. We then have our weekly missives from our principals, which we get very strong feedback from in terms of the divisional side, parents getting a sense of what's happening with their children, what are the upcoming events. I think especially the 3 principals that we've got have really done an excellent job with the messaging, trying to give you a sense of the philosophical approach that they're taking and they're supporting the teachers with on a regular basis. We have our all community emails. These are sometimes regular in terms of monthly from the superintendent, and other times they're scheduled based on need. So Board of Trustees messaging, there'll be one coming out, I think in the coming week or so, about new appointments at the board level. And then things from the advancement office, we do send a lot out in terms of some events, community-wide events, or campaigns that we might be running. Of course, we've got For Our Falcons, nice little plug there, coming up in just over 3 weeks. So there'll be another email coming out about that. The launch of the mobile app will also be another email that'll be coming out this week. All of the press things, and I think this is an area where Cheryl especially has done a fantastic job making sure we're in the right place at the right time. You can imagine this is a business on the press side as well. We get a lot of requests, and ASD being strong reputation-wise in the UAE, but especially in Dubai, we get a lot of requests to participate online and with traditional newspapers and things like that. And we do our best to make sure that what we put in there is timely, but also poignant in terms of the message that we're trying to get across. So we pick and choose throughout the course of the year either themes that we've been looking at, recurring themes, or things that pop up, right? So we get named best school in the country. That's something we're going to strategically make sure that we follow up on and place accordingly. Last year and a half or so, some of our press releases have been tying the connection between history and our alumni, and with alumni engagement being at the top of our list of to-do items, that's something we're going to continue. So again, we've got a number of pictures from our last couple of events. We did have an alumni weekend in November, and with more events upcoming, we'll try and leverage those and look at some opportunities to showcase what our Falcons are doing out in the world. And the more we connect with them, the more we get in terms of really great stories. So we've got Olympians, we've got young entrepreneurs, we have an alumna who was in Miss Universe just a couple weeks ago. She represented Miss Brazil, which was very cool. So lots of great things going on there and a lot of content for us to work with. Our forward-facing, asdbuy.org, Connect ASD is our internal site. And this is a very robust place, and we'll go through that in a second. And then our mobile apps, ASD, just for our community. And then in school, as I said, we've got a number of signage opportunities at the gates, and we're also trying to build our digital signage. It started with the big screen that's outside the theater, and we're trying to work towards connecting those seamlessly through all the divisions. But our primary ones, and the ones we just wanted to go over today and invite a little bit of dialogue from those in the room here, would be our email, Connect ASD, the app that's was released, soon to be released again, and then social media. And I'll speak to each of those. So we know you get a lot of emails. There's a lot that's happening. This is a school of 2,030 students, 350 faculty and staff, 2,000 alumni, 1,300 families, countless prospective families. Right now we've got somewhere in the range of 1,000 applications already for next year. So there are a lot of people that need to know what's going on. So email seems to be the tool right now that we rely on the most. That may shift. Part of that is the analysis that we go through with our audit. But we have our ASD news that come out on Mondays, principal letters on Fridays, as we mentioned, letters from the superintendent. I think Dr. Druggin's been very intentional about creating a cohesive message from his office and kind of teeing up the things that are happening and the opportunities that are available. And a plug, we've got a really awesome webinar Thursday night. The community would have received a note from Dr. Druggin just yesterday, I believe, going over a few things, but inviting families to that. And that is a really poignant topic, largely for middle school, but in general parenting, there's an opportunity to learn there. And that's another area where we think communications can really take off in terms of our partnership with parents. It's not easy to be a parent nowadays, but we view that partnership as a really critical one for our success as a school. And we do have a lot of resources or connections to resources. So we're going to be looking at ways that we can continue to build, the parent platform. Talk Tuesdays are a great opportunity for parents to hear more. And hopefully, if you've looked from 30,000 feet at the calendar of offerings for this year, the TLC has done a tremendous job of continuing to get those kind of niche presentations, but also partnering with the division. So we see more principals doing regular offerings this year. So I think they're each doing 2 or 3 throughout the course of the year. And that's a great opportunity for them to connect with the divisions, but also speak specifically to a topic, something they're looking at or something they're dealing with, or an opportunity to partner with parents. So strongly encourage parents as we build out that parent platform, take full advantage of the Talk Tuesday offering. So shout out to TLC, you guys are doing a tremendous job. Sorry you had to plug this one in today, but the comms is an important part for us. And then important notices, as we said. What we wanted to get a sense of, just as we look at this, is, well, before I pose that question, I find this very, very interesting. And this is just one poll. So this is a most recent ASD news. But Dr. Druggin, when he arrived, and as we looked at the plan for the fall in terms of our releases, we wanted to get a sense of the analytics. So MailChimp, which is the mail provider that we use, does allow us some pretty significant analytics. Now it's restricted, right? So because we drive people back to Connect ASD, which is the strategy, we want you to go to our website. It's limited in terms of our ability to see where you navigate once you leave ASD News. But anyway, long story short, 90.8% open rate, which is significant. We would not have expected it to be that high. And this isn't a one-off. So obviously, you're probably saying, well, of course, you pick one, that's the highest. This is actually lower than what we saw September, October, November. We were in the low 90 range for open rate. That is very, very strong. And again, it tells, if we were simply to rely on the data, it would tell us that we shouldn't change a thing and we should continue to use ASD News through the email to get information to parents. The anecdotal data isn't quite lining up with that exactly, which is why we want to begin to gather some feedback in groups like this, some focus groups, and through some surveys, if need be, throughout the course of the year. So we're going to continue to share some data like this, but our question is, and maybe we can just talk so we don't have to force people to write things and get up and walk around. But, when we look at the Monday ASD News or the principal letters on Friday, the monthly superintendent notes, some of the other things, from a parent perspective, what are the pros and cons? What are ways that we're sharing the right stories with you at the right time? What are ways that maybe we can reduce some overlap, which is an area that we've looked at for sure, especially when we think about ASD News and principal letters. Are there thoughts on the frequency of communications? And before I open it up for any comments or questions, one thing Dr. Drug and I talked about was, because we've had some ideas about ways that we can shift ASD News and the principal letters to work more seamlessly with all of our channels, and I'll speak to that a little bit more in a second. But of course, he's new this year. He didn't want to do like a complete overhaul of our main channels, and it looks like the new superintendent's just coming in and changing everything. We wanted to gather some data. So we've got some analytical data, but I was wondering if you might have some feedback or questions or thoughts for us in terms of your experience as parents. No?
I find everything very good.
Okay.
I received the email. I'm trying to memorize everything. It's impossible sometimes with the dates and everything, but for me as a new parent,
yeah.
It's really impressive, so I'm happy.
Okay.
With the communication.
It's not too many? You don't find yourself?
Sometimes I can't make, but there is a repetition, so you find sometimes in the email or if you miss something, so you can read it.
Yeah. Okay. Do you find there's certain times of year or certain days of the week where you're getting a lot, or is it just, every once in a while there might be?
Every time I receive an email, I try to read it.
Okay.
News, I don't want to miss any information.
Yeah. And do you have it forwarded to a personal email address like your family email, or do you go into? Okay. Okay. Any thoughts or feedback or?
I found the family email very effective. It just makes life easier.
Okay.
From my other experiences, I don't have to put my personal email in, so that has been very easy. And for the newsletters, does it always come on Friday? Because I think maybe I also receive email from the teachers on Friday, so I think that's. Sometimes I go through it on weekends or something.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get to know everything, so.
Yeah.
It's okay.
And we do find new parents are poised to be checking things much more frequently than maybe parents who've been around for 5 or 6 years. And that's also, some data points that we've got to keep in mind. We're not going to be able to cater to everybody. We do want to find, a system that's accessible, easy to navigate, that is informative. One thing that we've looked at from an ASD News standpoint is, and I'll touch on it when we look at the Connect ASD, the internal pages, is a little bit of a concern that it's becoming more of like a bulletin board than a place that kind of tells the story of the school. So we are trying to look at collecting things like we did some faculty stories last year. Now that we're doing a better job of engaging with our alums, we've got more alums who are willing to share their stories with us. So having some of those highlights will, I think, add in some ways to the narrative itself that ASD News is trying to tell, but also remove some of the reliance on the bulletin board piece. And that's probably more my concern than anyone else's, but as we go through Connect ASD, and have either of you spent a lot of time on the internal pages? Okay. It is full of everything that you need. We're continuing to work on the navigation tools and the search portion of it to make it as user-friendly as possible, but it really is the place where whatever you need, you can absolutely find it. Yeah.
Just one thing that I find interesting was, and we know that parents from elementary child, I got a lot more emails, because I also got a lot of emails from the teachers and a lot of information that way. So sometimes that can be a little overwhelming to get principal's notes, notes from ASD, superintendent's notes, and then regular emails from the teacher as well. So it's hard to shift through. But now, as a parent of a high schooler, it's easier.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's something that we're looking at too, because there is, obviously parents want to be as connected to the classroom as possible, and elementary school does a great job. Obviously the Seesaw platform, helps them be able to post some pictures and some updates and things like that. But part of that shift in middle and high school is putting kids got to be responsible for themselves, right? And so balancing that while making sure there's that partnership. But those are things as we go through, certainly if you've got feedback, and a new parent, not to imply in any way like your feedback early on is more helpful than anyone else's, but it can be because you're new to the community. It's a completely different lens. You might be coming from another school that did things a little bit differently or had different tools. So we certainly welcome, after today, if there's follow-up that you'd like to share some things, please do that. And if there's ideas or thoughts about ways that we can make it more streamlined or more informative, we definitely want to hear that. I think the other thing that we've noticed, and this might just be me, and I have a less experienced perspective on it than the rest of the team, but the principal letters used to be Thursday, and now they're Friday. Friday's a half day. It's the weekend dynamic has shifted as we've gone to 4.5 days, right? So we're constantly looking at the analytics, and to be honest, it's not helpful when that many people are opening it, because we're trying to see, is the Friday release, are we losing some of the ability to connect? Is it better to come on a different day? Again, things that we're looking at, and we welcome feedback from the community on. So Connect ASD, this is a project that you're both new, so you won't have any idea what I'm talking about but the Go pages was Google's version of the internal pages that we used to use. And they essentially told us those were going away. We were in the process of identifying a new external website provider, Vardot. So in that process, they worked with us to develop these internal pages. And we essentially had to migrate everything from the Go pages over. And that process has I think, gone relatively smoothly, but it's taken a long time. We were about 1.5 years, 2 years? 2 years into this now. And there's still some reliance on the internal pages from the internal Go pages versus the new pages. So what we wanted to take an opportunity to do was to make sure that we clearly outlined, what's the purpose of the Connect ASD pages, and then I'll quickly, through my family account, just take you through a little bit of where you can find things. So there's that visual. But anything that you would need related to the community can absolutely be found in Connect ASD. Now, it's the same thing as email in terms of login. You will need to connect through Google. It is password protected. But once you get in there, it's got all the archives of all of our letters that we just talked about. It's segmented by division, which makes it easier to navigate for parents, especially if you've got parents or you got kiddos across different divisions. It's got all the resources you can see, TLC, lunch menus, uniform guides, all those things. We've also tried to build up our repository of training videos, especially on the tech side. So there's a number of how-tos in there. So if you've got any questions about, the usuals are like connecting your phone to Gmail, Odoo. For the ELC parents, it would be, Schoology, and how do we sign up for events? See, we've got too many Schools Buddy, thank you. It's got tutorials on how to access all of those things. And then, of course, it's got all of our offerings. So Campus Rec does a phenomenal job of laying out the 4 seasons and what will be available, how you can get the schedules. I really think it's a fantastic place that our recommendation would be it's a quick stop every morning or every other day in case you need something. One thing that we're sensitive to is the balance of the WhatsApp groups. We think those are fantastic, and those are run by the parent organizations. They partner with us and the GCF, so there's this grade class facilitator, grade community facilitator, thank you. And he or she is responsible for facilitating, information to that group, answering questions, whatever it may be. One thing that we're trying to do, and we will continue to do through this campaign, is push people here. So what we see a lot of is, anybody have the schedule for next week? And what we don't want to happen is people post that on the WhatsApp group. We want people to drive parents back to Connect ASD, because this is where you're going to find absolutely everything. So we're working to make this as easy to navigate and easy to access as possible, so that parents are motivated to do just that. But I will quickly just take you through from the parent side. So the view is the same for all families. Now, obviously, some of us are employees and parents, so our view would be a little bit different. But when you log in, this is what everyone should see. It's got all of your tools down below here. We're purposeful, but making sure that it's an easy click for parents. You can see if you scroll down, you can navigate between each different divisions and their segmented calendars, or the entire all-school calendar. We continue to refresh with most recent releases of publications, etc. There's a tab to hit, the athletics competitions. There's a lot of parent links down here, key dates for the school year. Now, I see this and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Everything is there. But I also know, as a parent, looking at this holistically, there's a lot here, and it's easy to say, well, it's going to take me too long to try and find some things, so maybe I'll go to WhatsApp or whatever it may be. But a couple things worth pointing out. In the all-school area here, so this would be, of course, information for the entire school and the entire community. There's everything from, again, any of our recent letters to important links such as reporting an absence, which would be through the Schoology, lunch menus, school calendars, all the health office information. Of course, this was critically important as we were navigating the pandemic. Not to imply it's not now, but hopefully this is visited less frequently for our families. We've got student services, which of course is our child protection, diversity, inclusion statements. The teaching and learning, which is the TLC that I referenced earlier, that coordinates pretty much everything on the academic side of the house, especially things like this for parents. So if you've got questions about previous Talk Tuesdays, or today was so compelling that you want to go back and watch it again, you'll be able to find the link in the recording there, or if you want to share it out with friends. There's information about testing. We do testing throughout the course of the year, so if you need dates or information about the specific tests that we use, those are there. Also, anything related to facilities, our campus access. But down here is kind of what we were talking about on the technology piece, and I think this is a really great area. So if you do have questions about any of our tech tools, you could just click on that resources for student and parents, and you will just see a number of things. Our new parents, you may have experienced this throughout the orientation. We had some video series made available to you, but any of the core learning tools are right here. Quick links, again, would be down here. Some tutorials about getting the most out of Chrome, using your mobile device. I really applaud the tech and the learning side of the house for creating these resources so that parents can navigate being a parent. I do think one thing we're very mindful of is it's not easy to be a parent in general, just if you're parenting your kid. But it is, it's not easy it's not as easy as we would like it to be a parent digitally here. You know, we do know there's a number of platforms that you have to access, and we are working on consolidating those as best as possible. But part of what we want to do in areas where we can't is provide the resources necessary so that you can make the most out of your parent experience. So in the all school area, everything is there. And then of course by division, if you want to see the principal letters, the Falcon News, if you get elementary school parents, fantastic things put together by the kiddos, the handbooks, any of those things. Our campus life section has got everything that you would need to know related to athletics, aquatics, the arts, again segmented by division, segmented by age groups and teams. You can also find out what are the after-school activities that are available. You can register online. If you're looking ahead to high school, hoping your kid's going to be a part of Model UN, you can take a look at that in advance. Point of it is, there really is everything that you would need to be a parent, to navigate being a parent at ASD here. The community section is essentially everything about all the constituents in our community. So if you want to learn more about PTSA, which is one of our 3 parent programs, you can see who's on the board, their bylaws. You can submit an inquiry form to volunteer. You can see the events that are coming up. The PTSA's biggest focus is community, without a doubt. That is their driving motivation on a regular basis. So all of the events that they put together are designed to bring the community together. Booster's the same, but their community is a little bit more narrowly focused, as it's largely athletics, and then CAST is the entire arts program. Historically, they focus largely on the performing arts, but they're working to bring the visual arts into play more and support and sponsor some opportunities there. So anything related to our community can be found here. You'll see the bottom on the right-hand side, Falcon Futures and Adult Theater Group. So CAST does have a group. If you're interested in showcasing your acting skills, you can do so without fear of being new to it. I think there's a number of people that have done some acting in the past, but it's also a great opportunity to connect with other parents on stage. And then Falcon Futures is rebranded Falcon Business Network. So this is a group that's under our PTSA, and their focus is bringing together the business owners within the ASD community so that they can network with one another. And ultimately what they're trying to do is build up learning and internship opportunities for our kids. So their primary focus, as they've rebranded this year, is to engage our business owners within the community and our connections with some other business owners who might not be ASD families, to create internship opportunities for our oldest kids, typically the juniors and seniors. So they're doing a nice job there. And they have gatherings frequently throughout the course of the year. And I actually believe one is coming up next Tuesday night, February 7th. And there should be more information in ASD News on that. And I think that they'll send out another newsletter. But again, great chance to network through the lens of the business owner side of it. So I won't go through absolutely everything, because that would take far too long and probably take away from what our hope is here today. But the message from us is this is really a fantastic place for parents to get all the information that they need, and we strongly encourage this to be, a regularly visited place in your experience as a parent. So, I mean, the question was, like, do you find yourself using Connect ASD a lot? Are there things, through that quick kind of jump through of the sections, are there things that you didn't know were there that are there? You use it pretty frequently? You're getting a star today. Make sure if we have those stickers, that you get a star from us. It's fantastic. Are you using it as well? Okay. Has there been, in your experience with the WhatsApp groups, do you find that people are seeking a lot of information there?
Yeah, people are asking about the things they can check by themselves, but maybe it's more easy, you take the reply that you ask on the group.
Yeah.
For me, I'm using Connect ASD all the time,
Okay.
almost every day.
Okay. Okay, well, you're going to be the spokesperson then for the rest of the campaign. It is definitely easier. I think part of what makes the WhatsApp groups fantastic is everyone's there to help and support, and that is the goal of them. I mean, again, there's a lot to being apparent in this community, and especially as we've seen globally, but especially in Dubai over the last few years, more two-parent working households, you're balancing a lot of things at the same time, right? So the ease of just hitting a quick message and getting the information you need is there. And we don't want to take away from that function. What we're trying to do is balance it, because there's, in a lot of cases, so much more to Connect ASD. Now, again, I think one of the things that new parents have the benefit of is being new. So from the admissions side, we really strongly encourage you, and in some cases force you, to go to certain places throughout your transition, so it becomes ingrained. For families that may have been here for a few more years and didn't have the Connect ASD benefit 3 years ago, might take a little bit longer. But I think it's a good habit, and one that maybe what we could ask is, as that comes up in the WhatsApp group, say, hey, I know a great place to go get that answer, Connect ASD. Now, we also know too, the signing in becomes a little bit of a deterrent, and there's not much that we can do about that, but it's an added step. But we know for sure if someone shares a specific link. So if you go into ASD News and you want to know more about the story that we've shared a little bit on, that link, though you have to still log in, will take you directly to that story. So there's not multiple steps. So we are trying to make sure that we make it as easy as possible. Okay, so our mobile app, which we released very briefly last year, and took some feedback from a small group of faculty, staff, and parents, we're ready to release again. So you can go into the Apple Store or Google Play, is that correct, for the Android users? And download, I think you just look up AS Dubai. And you can download the app. All the parents, you should have your information in there. So what it will ask you to do is authenticate yourself. So you'll put in the family email, and you'll hit authenticate or whatever or register, I think is the actual button. It'll send you a password or a code. You punch it in, you'll be authenticated. So as you've listened to me go on about all the communication tools, essentially what we're looking at is we have 3 areas that we're focusing on. We've got the push out from us, right? ASD News, principal letters, superintendent letters. That's information that we think is critical for you to know, and we're making sure that we send it to you at a specific time under a specific vehicle. There's then Connect ASD, and that's the pull in. That's your place to go when you need absolutely anything. It's not static, but it's definitely more static, than the mobile app would be, but it's a great repository for all the information at school. That's the second one. The third one is the mobile app that we're looking at. And the idea behind this is we know that sometimes there's some instantaneous things that people need to know. Email's not the most effective way to do that. So pouring rain, campus is going to close early because we've got flooding. If we send emails out, it may not get to everyone the way that we need it. We do have the WhatsApp groups that we can use, but the idea is this mobile app's going to let us send notifications immediately. So you can walk around, you can set it up so that you get notifications. You can get a message from us that says, hey, campus closing at 2:15 today. Please refer to your email for more details about pickup and those types of things, right? That's the way that we're going to look at this. Now, it's got other benefits too. This is a template that we think is very user-friendly. You can check main school-wide calendar. So you're not going to get like the class schedule for the day, but you can get events going on in the arts, athletics. You can get campus-wide events. If it's a professional learning day, any of those things are going to be listed on the calendar. So it's a good way to keep track of those types of things. And it's quick access. So one thing I think, obviously, it's designed to work on your phone. It's a little bit more user-friendly than maybe having to click through an email or whatever it may be. So we're going to work towards the instantaneous side of this tool and see if we can add another layer of customer service and communication. What we're cognizant of is not allowing the 3 to overlap. And I think that's one thing through this process that we're trying to learn from our families. Did you hear the same thing in the same way across all of our channels? And if so, we might want to evaluate, the way that we're doing that. But we feel like the mobile app is going to let us, largely again on the notification side, communicate with our families in a very quick fashion that is very efficient and very effective. Now, What we need the whole community to do is download the app, register with the family emails that's been given. It's the family email, yes. Yep, we won't have parent emails on there. And then you get a quick code in your email, and it should quickly get you registered. And then you have to allow us to send notifications. That's the big thing. Our promise to you is we will not send 6 a day so that you shut off the notification feature. But what we ask of parents in return is that they turn that notification feature on, because in situations where we may have emergencies, this is going to be one of the tools that we use. And we do have an SMS system, which we're not speaking to today. The problem is it's heavily regulated in Dubai. So we actually can't send SMS messages before 7 a.m. or after 9 p.m. So while we would love for all emergencies to be convenient from a time standpoint, they won't be. So we have to have another tool that we can use to send out those instantaneous requirements. So definitely encourage everyone to go and use that. And then another channel that I give NIDA credit, but of course Cheryl and Ariel as well, for putting together strategy and just thinking through, the social media side. As you've probably learned in your short time with us, this place has got a lot of great things happening on a regular basis. And we want social media to help us tell that story to our alums, to our parents, to the worldwide community. And these are the main channels right now that we're using. I think some schools have looked at TikTok and some other things. We're not, at this point, going to get pulled into that, largely because I don't know how to use it. So I've stayed away purposefully. But we do have people on our team who could navigate that very easily. But Instagram's a really robust way to visually tell a story. Facebook we use as well to back up Instagram. I think Instagram is the engagement's far higher than Facebook, and that makes sense from a parent standpoint. It's generationally, I think that's something more that the kids and the parents are using. LinkedIn, we're feeling like this is starting to build some momentum alumni-wise. That seems to be where they're starting to connect. So we use that as well. And LinkedIn started to grow as well. It was largely just business and connecting from a professional standpoint. You see more and more people sharing their life stories on there. And it's being widely accepted to some degree. So we're using that as a platform as well to share some of our stories. And then YouTube's a great place for things like today, if you wanted to go back and get your recording, or opening ceremony, or graduation. There are some really great videos on there. All of our student performances, of course, and we've got some specific athletic events. So we are trying to make sure that the narrative that we are telling through these channels is perfectly aligned with what's happening on a regular basis, and speaks holistically to the mission and core values of ASD. And again, shares the exciting things that are happening on campus on a regular basis. And what I would say is, again, our focus has been on building the engagement. From a prospective family standpoint, you probably might see some more ads on Facebook for ASD. If you're connected at all, you probably aren't clicking on them, but these are targeted ads. So we're using House of Comms to pinpoint the age groups where we see we might need some more kids for current year, and they're tailoring those campaigns to make sure that we're targeted a lot more effectively. And those have been, the analytics on those have been very strong as well. One thing, and you probably saw the alumna who was in Miss Universe, that was an Instagram post, and that was hugely popular. We've seen some of these stories about our alums as of late, really getting a lot of good engagement across the community. The number of people who are following us is starting to increase, so all very good things, and we certainly encourage you, if you're not following us in these channels, to do so, because the frequency is building, and I think the narrative is quite strong. So again, we were wanting to get some feedback. One thing that we're building out for the rest of this spring, summer, and fall is more diverse offering of campaigns. And what we mean by that is, what are some things that would help us tell the story about ASD? So we did some faculty profiles last year. We're going to do some more alumni profiles this year. Anytime we've posted things about FODI, our sacred mascot. That seems to get good engagement, so we're talking about, are there some fun and creative campaigns about Fadi? But we wanted to see, are there things that in your experience as a social media user across the different platforms, might there be some things that we're not doing that might tell the story better, engage people more? If so, we'd love to hear it.
I was happy with even the Facebook link you sent for us at the beginning of before
the new parent one.
The new
Yeah.
parents, which was really, really good.
Yeah.
We were asking questions, someone was answering, so just
Yeah.
a lot of feedback. So it was great.
Yeah, that's good feedback, and that was feedback that we got early on. Part of what we were realizing was the questions that now come up in the Facebook page for new parents were coming directly to us, and the time it was taking to connect certain people together. So if someone said, hey, we're moving to Dubai Hills, we'd love to know other parents who are there. It was we were quick, but it was still taking more time. What we find now is someone posts that, and within an hour, you're getting half a dozen or a dozen people responding.
People coming from
Absolutely.
countries, so to find someone which, like, let's say the kids are the same class, just to have connection,
Yep.
send me your email or your mobile number that when they arrive they can connect. So it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I found it very useful actually.
Well, that's good. I'm sorry to say that probably within the next 3 weeks, we're going to cut that off for the new group. So we're going to encourage, we've subtly encouraged the group to make sure that they're going to the Falcon Connection page, and which is a parent-run page, but also the ASD Facebook page. But we'll be starting with our new families for next year. But that's very good feedback. That's very helpful for us. Anything on your end?
I was just wondering, the Facebook college is looking at the Falcon Connection, or is there?
This was, so for some new students, new families, we gave them the opportunity, if they wanted to, they could connect on this new Falcon page. Yeah, the new one. Yeah, ASD Falcon Connection is the bigger community-wide one, and that is run by parents, by PTSA? Okay. Absolutely, yeah, no. Yeah, the message is not that Falcon Connection is going away, no. And that's a very helpful place, and that, I think people do a great job of feeling very comfortable. It's not just ASD related. It is about things about maybe the community that you're living in, or aspects of living in Dubai that you might need some insider help with. So I know that my wife and I have often gotten some very helpful information or made some connections through there. So continue to do that. But what we would invite is, if there's things through your experience that you've seen other schools do or other companies do that are interesting or creative ways. Again, it's all about telling a story. When it comes down to it, we distill it down. It's about telling the story of ASD in unique and diverse ways. We can continue to post on Instagram and things like that, but what we're searching for, are there ways that people would rather engage with us that maybe we haven't considered yet? And that's going to be, again, part of this audit that we're going through. Are there questions, though, I guess?
My question is for the enrollment for the.
We can definitely.
Receive the email that it's starting from today.
It will go out today. Yep.
Can I ask where it should be under Udu or
It will go to your ASD email. So the question is, for those who are watching this after today.
we send any link just to pay? Or?
So we'll send an email about re-enrollment. So there's two parts to it. You have to sign the contract first, which essentially you have three options. You can return. You can be uncertain, which you got to give us, if your family might be moving or whatever it may be, you're uncertain, you would just give us details. Or if your family is moving out of Dubai or whatever it may be, you can let us know that you're not planning on returning. You can sign that contract, and then it will give you an option to pay the seat reservation now, which goes towards your tuition. It's not a separate fee. It's not due until April 12th, so the KHDA mandates that we can't actually require the deposit or the seat reservation until after spring break. But if you just want to get out of the way, you can absolutely go and do that. So I will start hitting send on those today at 2 o'clock. Yeah. I would say by 8 or 9 o'clock, they should be all out.
And we have till 28th of February.
And then you have the 28th to get the contract back, and then April 12th to get the seat reservation paid. Yeah.
Same side, just to finish from the beginning.
Yes, and the message to everyone is, yes, do it today or tomorrow as quickly as possible. It does help us. And from an enrollment standpoint, with the number of applications that we have, we already know that we're going to have pretty long wait lists across a large number of grades. So the sooner we can communicate to families about the possibility of a spot, the better it is for them, because they may have to find, unfortunately, somewhere else.
I already have friends, they started to start.
Okay. Well, send their names along so I know if you haven't done so already. Be helpful. But thank you. Have a wonderful day. Yeah.
Question about food.
Yeah, Odoo.
For signing up.
Yep.
Is it only for the ELC or it's for elementary? Because I have one child in ELC and one
Signing up for,
activities or after school.
I believe everything is through Schools Buddy still, registration. There's some overlap now. Okay, so we're probably still in the midst of making that full transition. So I'll have to get back to you on where we are with that.
I mean, it's letting me do it, but I just want to know if I can move on the same page for ELC and because it's not on the some activities is on the Odoo
And some are on Schools Buddy. So we're going through that migration process. Ultimately, everything will be Odoo. We might just be part of the way there at the moment. But what I will do is check with Gavin just to make sure I have strong understanding, and I'll reach back out to you and let you know. Yeah. And Cheryl may have the answer. So who are the points of contact? There's myself. If you ever need anything, my door is always open. Certainly as new parents, our team on the admission side is always open to hearing about your experience through the process, your experience as you transition into the community. But in general, if you ever need anything or you've got feedback school-wide and you're uncertain as to where to go, please feel free to reach out to me. My email's the top of the two there under my name and title. The admissions team one is the general admissions team, and members of our team will respond. If you ever need anything communications-wide, Cheryl is your lady. She is the professional and not only knows everything school-wide, but has the longest tenure here of the team. Well, that's unfair to Nida. Nida's an alumna. But through the professional lens, I think it's pretty close. They've both had a very similar number of years. Anything marketing or brand related, you can reach out again to Ariel, but you can use the communications email, and all three of the team members will be able to respond quickly to that. But if we could ask, one thing, if you could take some homework with you, consider one or two things that you might offer as points of feedback to us. And it's not easy in the spot, so I'm sorry that I put you on it. But it's an open invitation. As you go through the rest of your day today or maybe the rest of the week, thinking about your experience as a parent from the communication side, are there things, and they could be very small things, or they could be very big things. Are there things that you would like for us to know? And if it's reaffirming things that we're doing, or if it's things that we would benefit from knowing as we go through this evaluation or audit process, we really would appreciate it, because if we're not communicating well, and it doesn't rely solely on our team, I mean, we're really the vehicle for the entire community, so this feedback will be taken and passed along across all of our divisions and departments. But if as a school, if we're not getting you the information that you need in a timely and effective way, you're not going to have the best experience possible. So comms, though, feels very much at the front. We really want to sit in the back and just make sure that you get what you need. So your feedback to us is greatly appreciated. Really do appreciate you coming today. We appreciate your involvement in the community. We appreciate you following us on our social media channels and downloading the app and accepting notifications, for using Connect ASD, and for telling people on WhatsApp to use Connect ASD, and continuing to open and click through ASD News. But I mean, above all, and as new parents, you've heard me say this, like we're appreciative of the fact that you trust us with your kids and their education. We don't take that lightly. It's a big deal. We think we're good at it, but we're continuing to grow and evolve, and your partnership in that is very important. So hope you have a great rest of the week. If there's anything that we can do, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet.